Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Is XRP in trouble? Is Ripple now facing serious competition from Swift? No. There have been a lot of people asking me about the story that's on your screen right now, so of course you know I'm going to touch on this. Here's the headline. Ripple's XRP, what about now? Swift announces cross-border payments in seconds. And so let me just tell you what my suspicion is when I see a story with a headline like that, or I see a story with the terms XRP killer or new bank coin challenge Ripple or whatever it is. I immediately suspect it's going to be the same thing over and over again, which is that there's some sort of messaging platform that doesn't actually move money, which means it doesn't really have anything to do with XRP or cryptocurrency, and that it's payments versus settlement. And so I went through this, and wouldn't you know it, that's the case here again. But I'm going to break down in a good level of detail for you exactly why this doesn't matter, in part by highlighting an XRP community member who's just done a fantastic job writing a couple. I've seen at least two of his pieces now, and just does a real good job articulating exactly the position that Ripple has taken in positioning XRP as a bridge currency, and exactly why Swift, even with what they're doing here, and I'll explain it to the extent I can, what's going on here. And the reason I say to the extent that I can is because they only revealed so many specifics, but what I am certain of, because it is articulated in Swift's official press release actually, is that this is purely a messaging thing. This is not having to do with the movement of money. They have not solved the settlement problem. And so that's something that's always been mind-blowing to me. It's just like, mankind, and I really mean this, and some of you have been around for a while, you've heard me say this a number of times, but for those of you new, please hear this and understand this is actually a real thing. Humans have not come up with another way for settlement. They have not, outside of pre-funding of accounts, humans have not devised a solution for settlement, and settlement's problematic for a number of reasons I'm going to highlight in this article, in this video rather. But there's no solution outside of what Swift's been doing for about 50 years, however long they've been around now. There is no solution, and so you sit here and once you recognize why XRP works as a bridge currency, and then you recognize that there is no other solution, so you sit there thinking, okay, so here's crypto. If you think utility matters and will win the day, which is what I firmly believe. And you see that XRP is the only solution that exists. And not only that, because you do need a technologically sufficient decentralized cryptocurrency that also has an open market price. All of those things are required for this to work. And XRP does. So not only is that the case, not only can it actually solve this problem and is today in corridors where it's live, but there is no other cryptocurrency that is doing this today. There's over 8,000 cryptocurrencies, and this one, XRP, is used in enterprise-grade software, and there is no other cryptocurrency that, today anyway, is being used for this use case. So until I see another coin being used specifically for this use case that's also decentralized and has an open market price and technologically sufficient, then I'll say, okay, now we got some competition, which I'd be fine with, because if I think there's anything to whatever that other coin is, maybe I'd buy some of that too. Who knows? I don't even see that happening though. And so it really is the case that Swift isn't even trying to solve the settlements problem. They have no solution. So it just makes you kind of wonder at some point, I mean, would it be the case perhaps that Swift, if they want to not go the way of the dodo, my favorite extinct avian creature, would they at some point adopt XRP? Because look, there's no reason that they couldn't. XRP, the XRP ledger, it's just a decentralized blockchain that has a native asset, which is XRP. And so there's no reason, if they wanted to develop on-demand liquidity, tap into liquidity, they could certainly create their own software if they wanted to do it. They just show no indication that's a route they're going to go. But this is a better way to do things. So either they adapt, or at some point, what happens? Like, what functionally will happen? Because as XRP increasingly becomes liquid, more corridors will open. And as there's an increased regulatory clarity around XRP the world over, more corridors will open. So those are a couple serious hurdles. Liquidity might be the biggest one, frankly. Because right now today, you couldn't just snap of a finger replace the Swift system with Ripple's on-demand liquidity and XRP. But again, let it happen organically, let it grow out over time. And I do think the pace will pick up exponentially. But all good things in time, right? And so check this out. In 2019, Swift improved speeds to an average of 30 minutes for half of GPI payments, with almost every transaction being completed in less than 24 hours. At the time, Ripple Labs dismissed that upgrade as just a marginal improvement on very old architecture. And by the way, that's true, and I'm going to articulate why, so stick with me. Most of those types of specifics is going to be towards the second half of the video. And I don't know how long the videos are going to be. I never know when I hit record, but I can already tell it's going to be towards the second half. So stick with me if you've got the time. I think you're going to find this very informational and interesting. So anyway, Swift Go is the new product of the... I love this name. I always forget what Swift stands for. It stands for the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. That's Swift. It even sounds old-timey. Like, what is that? Oh, let me hop on my telecommunication device. Blah, 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 blah. Stodgy sounds. Blah, 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 blah. The service enables businesses and consumers to send low-value cross-border payments anywhere in the world in seconds, with full transparency and strong security. And so I don't want to read this whole thing, but let me cover this spot right here. Here we go. Swift's new product is designed for small and medium enterprises that wish to pay suppliers overseas, and for consumers sending money to friends and family internationally. Go, again, their new product, Swift Go, uses tighter service level agreements between institutions and pre-validation of data to allow banks to provide their end customers a fast and predictable payments experience with upfront visibility on processing, times, and costs. Swift's network connects more than 11,000 institutions and 4 billion accounts across 200 countries worldwide. So my friends, what they're talking about there is a messaging system. And understand that in the world of finance, when we say payments, that actually just means messaging. It doesn't mean that money's actually moving. Payments means messaging. When you say settlement, that's separate. Settlement is the movement of money. So people get confused. They hear payments. Well, isn't it done then? No. You're just communicating with anybody else in the network, saying, "Okay, I've got this transaction we'd like to start. Would you like to start this transaction with me? Do you have the funds? Do I have the funds? Can we send this back and forth? Do we have an existing relationship?" You better, or else you can't even talk to them. But these problems don't exist on RippleNet with on-demand liquidity, frankly. Here, and so again, nothing here having to do with settlement. Period. After all these years, and they know what Ripple's doing with XRP. They're not even trying to solve for that. And so then XRP Crypto will share this story, and thank you very much, my friend. I do appreciate it. It's just another link to a story covering this. And then XRP community member Panos wrote the following, and he's spot on. He wrote, "Still pre-funded and trapped liquidity, no instant settlement, no bidirectional messaging, and many more issues that can't be solved by this outdated system." And so the only thing where I did have a question mark there, and he could be right, but my understanding is that with the Swift GPI upgrade, there are transactions, I don't know if it's all of them, but my understanding was that some of them actually finally do have bidirectional messaging, but he could be right there. So I just wanted to say, for some reason I was thinking it does, and I still think that's more likely, but he could be right. And so there's just a few portions of this I want to cover, and you are going to love this information. Because it tears down the whole idea of what Swift is doing, and that's why I'm just thinking for long-term viability of XRP, if you think utility matters, yes, this is all a big deal. And if you don't think it matters, what? Like, what do you think is going to result in a crypto-heavy long-term viability if not actually being used? So anyway, so this was written by Panos, and by the way, I encourage you to follow him if you're on Twitter. He's at PanosMek. That's at PanosMek. And this piece he wrote April of last year, titled "XRP Disrupting Swift GPI and Correspondent Banking." Sending money across borders is more important than ever before, either as an individual or as a business, especially in these difficult times. And yet, there isn't any complete global payments network, there is no interoperability, and you can't move money and value efficiently with the current outdated system. And actually, no money is ever moved with the current system. Just account entries and correspondent banks' ledgers getting adjusted, so credited or debited. So basically, it's just data is exchanged and nothing else. We have Swift, which is actually owned by the biggest banks in the world, and it offers a messaging service. In order to do a cross-border transaction and get settled, there are two options. Number one, your bank must already your bank must have already established a direct relationship with the receiving bank, which means that it must have a pre-funded account. That's called a Nostro account with the other bank, or in simple words, it should have parked enough money in that account in order for your transaction to happen. And so think about the implications of this. If you're holding money in a foreign account, that you have to have enough just in case it's getting used, which is why what's so different with XRP. This is like the genius of it, really. First of all, banks and remittance firms, they don't even have to hold XRP, because what's happening right now is humans have already been speculating on the price of XRP for over 8 years. Humans are already buying and selling. That's liquidity, the buying and selling of the XRP. And so what Ripple recognizes, this is already happening. There are already people speculating on global markets about the price of XRP, just buying it and selling it. Some people are using it, some are just holding it in case it's worth more in the future. That's normal. People speculate on everything. But the fact that this is happening was something, because it's also an asset that can be moved, and it's blazing fast and decentralized, so there's no trust issues with it. And so all that's happening here is Ripple allows remittance firms and banks to tap into existing liquidity. So rather than these banks having to park money at other banks, they can just tap into liquidity that already exists in nature with humans buying and selling. That's the secret sauce, utilizing XRP. Now, there can be situations, and if this happens, I think it would be way down the road, but there could be situations where banks maybe want to hold XRP if they think that there's going to be sufficient benefit, because in terms of transactionally, if you don't have to purchase XRP because you're already holding it, you can cut down on part of the fees associated with foreign exchange right there. You can cut down on one side of it. If there's a sufficient benefit, maybe a bank would hold XRP, but the special sauce is they don't have to. It doesn't mean they wouldn't necessarily, but I think it's more appealing that they don't even have to have it on the books. They can just tap into existing liquidity. And then option number 2 here, your bank can rely to other intermediary / correspondent banks, usually major banks, that have already established a relationship with the receiving bank, and your bank pays them fees for that. And so let me pause right there, just to make sure you heard what he wrote there. He's saying that smaller banks, whether it's literally like the smallest of the small bank or maybe a mid-sized bank, since they don't have the capital to have money parked all over the world, they pay their larger competitors fees so that they can service their customers in terms of remittances. Yes, the smaller banks paying their larger competitors. That is what's happening here. Anyway, then he continues. And that's what most of the banks do, because it takes too much time, usually 9+ months, and resources for a bank to create a new relationship with another bank. This is called correspondent banking. Isn't that costly and time-consuming, you will ask? Of course it is. But that's how the entire financial system works in the most part. You can see how international payments work in the picture below, and it's on your screen if you want to take a look. I'm not going to even try and verbally describe it. Anyway, it would just be... I think I'm covering the important parts. Don't worry. You can look at it, though. If you want a little graphic, look on your screen. It's there. Anyway, Swift has created an improved messaging system called Swift GPI, which, as they claim, it improves the speed, security, and transparency of payments. They say that about 50% of Swift GPI payments are credited to end beneficiaries within 30 minutes. That's right, credited. Which means that the actual settlement of funds is still done much later. And so that's why I was sharing with you and trying to make it very clear. Payments, where there's debiting and crediting, payments, that's actually just messaging. That is different than the settlement portion. What Swift GPI is doing here is they're crediting in 30 minutes. It's faster messaging than what they used to have, right? And so then he continues here. It often takes 3 to 5 days on average for settlement, so it can't keep up with the payment, and this results in trapping liquidity. But what Swift also hasn't told you is that those payments that are credited between minutes and hours are mostly on the same time zone and in big corridors. Swift GPI only, quote-unquote, works in big countries and between the biggest currencies. If you want to send money to South America, Africa, and some Asian countries or generally exotic corridors, It may take up to 10 days for the transfer to be completed. And don't forget the huge fees you will pay and other problems that may occur. A very painful procedure. What does this mean? Swift GPI is simply a better horse, and when you know that a Ferrari already exists, what will you choose? Which is why you see this tweet here from Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse. And Brad tweeted out the following some time ago. Swift GPI is like putting a Ferrari shell on a Model T engine. It's a cosmetic upgrade on old infrastructure. Messaging is still not tied to settlement. It's unidirectional and can't solve for liquidity. So, this is just the truth of it. And so this is better than what they had before, but they're not even trying to solve the whole problem. And no one else is doing what Ripple is doing. No one else on the entire planet is positioning a decentralized cryptocurrency with an open market price that's technologically sufficient to serve as a bridge currency. There is no other organization that is doing this today, period. And so again, if there's more competition in the future, I'm not against that. That's fine, whatever. But it doesn't exist right now. It certainly does not. And Ripple's got first mover advantage on this front. So it's like either this works or something comparable to this, or humans are just like, nah, it's cool. We're not going to evolve. We're not going to get to a point where settlement actually settles in real time. We humans, we just don't care, even though there's an actual solution here. What do you think's going to happen? And so that's why, to me, it looks like the writing's on the wall, but I admit technically something way out of left field could come and surprise me and you and everything, and then this whole experiment ends. I don't know what the hell that would be. But I really don't, I don't see that. And so that's why, for me, it looks like the writing's on the wall. This is going to be adopted. And so as things shift, of course, yeah, I'll continue to report on this. I'm going to keep running this channel. But I just don't see it. I really don't see it, guys. And I've been following this on a daily basis for over 3.5 years because I'm weird. I don't know, it struck me in a way that just interested me that much. And so there we go. But no, anyway, suffice it to say, XRP and Ripple not in trouble with this latest development. It's just additional messaging. And so no, we don't know all the specifics about all of the greatness of this new messaging because they didn't share all of the specifics, but we do know it's messaging and not settlement. And so they're not solving that problem. And even on the messaging side, like Panos cited here, it's not going to work the world over. But anyway, I'll go ahead and wrap up there. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.